Hey everybody, welcome back to Belle's Library. So I am still here in Prescott, Arizona. We are actually getting ready to leave in the morning. And I wanted to come on and show you guys the book haul that I made from a bookshop that I found. It's in this old building downtown that also, it has like a hotel, it has a couple of art shops. It had a really neat bistro that I got to go and have lunch. It was a super fun little trip today looking for all of these books. So it has been really fun exploring Prescott, Arizona these past few days. I have never been to Arizona. We drove through New Mexico. I had never been to New Mexico. My daughter had never been to Texas. And then we, of course, started in Northwest Arkansas. So she got 3 new states. I got 2 new states. It has been a really fun time. She got to spend some good quality time with her boyfriend. They went out shopping today and she's not back yet. So I'm looking forward to hearing all about her fun day. So I have been spending the time exploring. I spent the first day that we were here hopping around to a bunch of little free libraries all over town. I made a video on that. You guys can check that one out. And then yesterday we had our Sabbath day rest, and so we went to fellowship with his family and got to meet some new people and had a really amazing tamale enchilada casserole thing that was super great, and I have to recreate it. And then went and I took a nap and I read, and I've been doing a lot of reading. I've been trying to read a book a day because I'm trying to get up to my Goodreads goal, right? I talked about that in a different video, but so I've been reading just like the littlest books on my bookshelf just to get up to my goal. So I have been reading for the last 12-ish hours Charlie's Aunt, which is a play by Brandon Thomas. And I had never heard of this before, and I heard of it on Books and Things. So if you guys are not familiar with Katie at Books and Things, her channel is super fun, and she talks a lot about Victorian literature, which I love Victorian literature, and this was one that she had read, I think, for her Victober challenge. And it's just a fun play. Like I said, I was completely unfamiliar with it. I would love to see this on stage, and I'm about halfway through, so I'll finish that up here this evening. But when she mentioned it, I went on, because I do not read a lot of plays. It's just not really my thing, but I am enjoying this one, so maybe I should pick up some more. Maybe I should consult Katie, right? Because she apparently knows what the good plays are. But anyway, when I saw her recommend it, I did go on, I don't know, eBay maybe, and got it for like $4. So there's lots more on eBay for like $4 if you want to read Charlie's Aunt, but that's what I'm reading right now. So anyway, I wanted to share with you guys some of the things that I found at this neat bookshop. It is called The Old Sage, and it's actually closing down. I got there and she was going out of business. Everything was 30% off. So she had some books that had already been marked down quite a bit, and then another 30% off in there, but then everything else, like bookmarks and just everything except for her furniture was 30% off. And so I really wished that I had a little more money to spend today and a little more room in my vehicle, because I probably would have bought her out. Just because she had some really great books in there. It wasn't like one of those used bookstores where there's like 500,000 copies of the same paperbacks that you can find at Walmart or whatever. It was just a neat collection of local things. The whole store was mostly nonfiction, and that is what I tend to buy. If I'm gonna spend money, I usually buy old stuff and nonfiction. I will pick up things in other genres, but if I'm gonna spend money, and especially if it's a fun and special day out like today was, I usually get things that I'm gonna keep in my collection for a long time, and that is usually old books, classics, and nonfiction. So I want to share with you guys what I picked up today. First of all, she had this set of bookends, and these reminded me of my great Grammy Annabelle. So it was always kind of interesting to me, my great Grammy Annabelle, because she seemed to me like a city person and a sort of a girly girl. I don't know how to explain what I'm trying to describe. Just someone who was sort of prissy, and she had an entire pink bathroom that was like pink and roses. It smelled like rose, and her home had a lot of just kind of like fluffy, foofy sort of things. But then on the flip side, she decorated a lot with Western things. And so I can just remember even as a kid that her Western things just didn't really seem to go with like her Powder Puff Marie Antoinette sort of things. So I don't know, maybe I had a different impression of her than who she really is. She passed away when I was probably 25 or something. But anyway, as a kid, I remember this kind of stuff in her house. And so I picked these up because I think they're super cool, and they reminded me of Grammy. And I am getting ready to start building bookshelves within my home. It is something that I've wanted to do for years. And so we and my husband are gonna just start filling various walls with built-in bookshelves. And so I'm gonna need some bookends, right? And so these are super cool. Gonna be on the lookout for more bookends, but I want them to be sort of kitschy like this, right? Kind of just stuff that I'm not gonna be able to find at Walmart, even though I don't even know if you could find bookends at Walmart nowadays. Do people buy bookends brand new anymore? I'm not sure. If you know a good place to get bookends, let me know. All right, so then I found 2 books that are like, you know, considered antiques. This one is called Green Timber by Harold Bindelas. Looks like this. And it just looks like a story. You know, it was published in America in 1924. It was published in England under the title Andrew's Folly. So it's just kind of a story, fictional story that I thought might be interesting. And then the other kind of antique book I got was The Satire of Jonathan Swift. This one was published in 1947. And I do enjoy reading The Satire of Jonathan Swift. It's just silly, right? A lot of it's just political satire and on the state of things in England in the day, but I don't know, I enjoy reading those. And I was first introduced to that when one of my sons was going through, what am I trying to think of? It was another satire. It was Roger Coverley Papers, right? Roger de Coverley, the Coverley Papers. And I can't remember if Jonathan Swift was involved in actually writing those, or if he was just friends with a guy that wrote them, or it was just a similar thing because it was similar political satire. I can't exactly remember how that all went down, but anyway, during that time period when my son was reading through Coverley Papers, was what I was introduced to the satire of Jonathan Swift. So picked that up for my collection. All right, and then next I picked up the Oxford Children's Verse in America. So there is the book of Oxford Children's Verse that is England, and then this one is from America. And just like I struggle with plays, I struggle with poetry. I think I said that in a previous video. I don't even really like to write poetry, but I find myself just being that way. I'm just kind of good at rhyming and making funny things up, you know, that rhyme or even just sort of poetic prose. You know, I don't know, I'm a good writer of that, but I don't necessarily like to read it too much. And so it's going to be one of those things that will stretch me this year. And I also mentioned that I wanted to read more American literature and sort of broaden my horizons, since I tend to just live in the 19th century England area. And so anyway, this will be a good thing to go through little by little, this poetry from America. Okay, and then I picked up 4 biographical memoir type stories. This is The Adventures of Arthur Conan Doyle, and this is a biography of him. That one is by Russell Miller. And then I got Night, which I have read before, but it's been a while. It was hard to read this book. And so I just feel like, you know, sometimes it's really important that we remind ourselves of things we don't like to be reminded of, right? Because it's important to remember that history and remember compassion. And just to use the experiences of those who, you know, have come before us and recorded their lives and the difficulties and horrific things that they have gone through, just to help us to remember to be compassionate, right? And to be gentle with the people around us. So anyway, I will be going through that one again. I picked up The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, which I have read this before. I don't know why I'm holding these all wonky weird. There we go. This one is a story of this woman who, it's just a whole story about her cells being taken without her permission and the family's permission. Her cell line was unique in scientific-y ways that are too long for me to explain right now because I have to find words. But they were used and still are being used from what I understand. A sample of her cells were taken without her knowledge. It says that they have become one of the most important tools in medicine, vital for developing the polio vaccine, cloning, gene mapping, and more. They have been bought and sold by the billions, yet she remains unknown and her family is in poverty. Even now, her maybe it would be grandchildren and great-grandchildren by now. This happened in the 50s, but big pharma science is still making money off of her now. And so the story is just kind of all about that, and then talks about how her cells were unique and so they could be used for these various scientific purposes. And then it talks about how it's pretty disgusting that her family has not received any kind of compensation or even acknowledgement really about this. She was violated without it even being, told to her, and then all this time, her family has received nothing of the billions of dollars that have been made off of her. So I've actually read it, and I probably won't read it again, but I did purchase it because, like I said, everything was 30% off. The book ended up being, it was $3.95 before my discount, and so I grabbed it because I wanted to gift this to somebody. I don't know who yet, but I do a lot of book swaps and book exchanges on bookcrossing.com, and so I know that sometime within the next few months I will have somebody that I can gift that to. So I was glad to pick that up for such an inexpensive price. And then the last biography type book that I got here is Emily Dickinson and the Art of Belief by Roger London. And I don't know anything really about Emily Dickinson, again, because I don't prefer poetry. I've not really read anything other than like maybe, something that was written on stationery or something, a little quote or whatever. But I wanted to read this biography because I have preconceived ideas. So she's one of those people that, there are legends and there are stories and whatever in America about Emily Dickinson, and I don't know really much about her. When I was younger, I sort of mixed her up with Emily Bronte and Charlotte because they looked similar to me. It's just a similar time, right? And they had similar names and they both wrote things. So, and then after I, grew up a little bit and realized they're different people, I still just have kind of this image in my mind of who Emily Dickinson is just from hearing things. And I would like to read this just to get a feel for who she is and also what inspired her to write. So I'm gonna read that. And then my last two books, I saved. They aren't anything like one another, but I saved them both for the end because they both have forgotten bookmarks inside. So I love to find books that have forgotten bookmarks. There's actually a book called Forgotten Bookmarks, and the guy is a bookshop owner, and he talks about all the different things that he finds in books. He has found like food, like a sandwich. He has found money, all kinds of crazy stuff that he has found in books when people donate them or sell them to his shop. And so he made a whole book about them. And so I have a series on that on my blog called The Secret Lives of Books, and I share the different forgotten bookmarks that I found and kind of some history goes with it. I thought about making some videos out of some of that stuff, so you guys can let me know if you think that that is interesting. But anyway, one of the books that I picked up, this is called Enter the Saint. I knew nothing about it. I picked it up because it had a red post box on the front, and I just have a thing. I mean, how could you not love this cover, right? You got this cute stick man. It's yellow with a red post box. I just thought it was super cute, and I love everything that has to do with mail, and I love everything that has to do with England, and so I grabbed this book, not really knowing if I would read it. It's kind of a crime mystery, I guess. It says that the saint he is the Robin Hood of modern crime. So this book was published in England, and this version was 1940. I guess it was first printed in 1930, and it's kind of one of those just, pulpy sort of fun mysteries. And I guess it's a series. So when I took this up to the cash register, the woman was like, oh, I remember watching The Saint when I was a kid. It was a series on TV. So I've never heard of this. She was a little bit older than me. She was describing how, I guess, Roger Moore was in it, and then she had to explain to me who Roger Moore was, which is the James Bond guy. And then I was like, oh yeah, I kind of, sort of know who it is. So it was just this whole funny thing with this woman who was trying to be relatable, and I was like a total dunce. But anyway, so I picked up the book thinking that I would send it to a friend. I'm doing a gift exchange this year on Book Crossing. Every year I host the holiday gift giving exchange, and anyway, I picked this up to send to one of those girls, and now I'm like, oh, the cover is so cute. Maybe I want to keep it for my collection just because it has a pretty cover. So we'll see. I'm not exactly sure. But anyway, when I got it back here to the hotel, I was sort of flipping through. I found that it had these 2 business cards inside. And one of the business cards is older. It says Hingham Book House. So I'm wondering if this was actually where the book was purchased originally. Mrs. Mason A. Foley. Books, prints, maps. Open Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from 10 to 4. On 333 Lincoln Street, Route 3A, Hingham, Massachusetts. So that's, it's a pretty old card. It's probably from the 60s. So if anybody is near there, let me know. Are you familiar with Hingham Book House? Is it still there? I might have to look up and see if it's still around or what is in that place now. But I think that's pretty cool that she had a bookshop that was only open 3 days a week for 6 hours a day. Like, I could do that. I have the time for that. And then with it was a more modern business card from here in Prescott. And this is KAZT Television, Tanya Mock, host, AM Arizona, ArizonaZone.com. So this is much newer, obviously, right? Because there's an email on here. But also has a fax number, so I don't know, is that a thing still? I am so out of touch. But anyway, I wonder if Tanya Mock put her business card in here with this one from Mrs. Mason A. Foley so that she could have kind of a little, you know, old-timey business card and new-timey business card as a forgotten bookmark. So that was sweet. That will travel with that book. So if I ever have a book that I'm gonna, you know, go ahead and haul and give away to somebody and it has a forgotten bookmark in it, the bookmark goes with the book. It's part of its history, right? And then last but not least, I found this book called Drawn from New England, Tasha Tudor. It's a story that I think her daughter wrote. It has a lot of pictures. It's kind of a scrapbook of Tasha Tudor. And I adore Tasha Tudor. She is my favorite illustrator. And this is kind of a scrapbook, picture book of her life. This has been on my wish list for a really long time. And it was originally $20, and then they marked it down to $17.95, and then I got it at 30%. And so I didn't think that I'm probably going to find this book much cheaper than that because it's kind of a collector, right? She's one of those people that people like to collect, and I like to collect Tasha Tudor things. And I just kind of even want to be Tasha Tudor if that is ever possible. But if you're not familiar who she is, look her up. She has, she's a very well-known illustrator here in America in the New England area. She's passed away now, but she did a lot of just, I don't know, sweet, gardeny sort of illustrations. Once you look her up, you will recognize, I'm sure, her illustrations. And she just lived a very sort of old-fashioned life on her farm. She had a little cabin and everything in there was super primitive. And anyway, she just seems to be a really neat person. But in this book, I found this, it's a newsletter that, and it's called The Letter, published by Elaine's Upper Story. This is winter 1981, and it says, loving enthusiasts of Tasha Tudor exchange reflections. So that's what letter, oh, that's the acronym, I guess, for letter. Loving enthusiasts of Tasha Tudor exchange reflections. So it's just a little newsletter. It says it's a biannual publication, summer and winter, of Elaine's Upper Story in Rogers City, Michigan. Annual membership, $7, single copies available for $4. This only has 2 pages, so I don't know if like there's some missing or if it really is just 2-page printout for $4. I don't really know, but in 1981, that just kind of seems a little steep. Anyway, there's a story, University of Vermont honors Tasha Tudor. So, you know, she would have been living during this time. So this is kind of like her fan club letter. A Tasha Tudor Christmas exhibit, Rosemary for Remembrance, a keepsake book. It's advertising her newest book, Rosemary for Remembrance. And then it just it's a couple articles that people wrote about what was going on with Tasha Tudor in 1981. So I thought it was kind of cool. And I'll have to look for some more copies of that publication on, you know, maybe eBay and see if they're all just 2 pages. I don't know. That just struck me as weird. Maybe I shouldn't be. I don't mean to sound snotty. That was just kind of struck me strange. All right, guys, that is my haul from the Old Sage Bookshop. RIP to the Old Sage, because it sounds like she is going out of business soon. I really hate to see independent bookshops go under, and so I try to support independent bookshops whenever I can. Did I tell you? Oh, I didn't even tell you guys this on the topic of independent bookshops. So I entered a giveaway. It was during, you know, the many days of Black Friday a couple of weeks ago. And my favorite bookshop in Tawnytown, Arkansas, it's called Once Upon a Time Books, was doing a giveaway for like 4 $75 gift cards. And I won one of them. I am super excited about that. It's my favorite bookshop. I love to support her bookshop. And so I think that it is super cool that I get to go in there and have a little shopping spree. Well, every time I go in there, I have a little shopping spree, but this one I don't have to pay for. So thank you, Once Upon a Time Bookshop. All right, hope everybody's having a great day. I will see you soon. Bye-bye.